Are you terrified of the bottom of the sea?
Yes!
Because you should be. Like, we literally cannot go that far down. The pressure gets so strong the lower down we go that it can crush even stuff like submarines. That's exactly why we haven't discovered more than like 5% of the ocean. There could literally be anything down there. Whole civilizations of undiscovered creatures and species and stuff like that, you know? And that's kind of what this analog horror video is about.
This one is like freaky and like a different type of way, dude. Like, it genuinely made me so uncomfortable. But we're gonna go ahead and jump into this. This analog horror series is called the Paradisus Project. So apparently back in the early 1950s, 1949, around that time, the Soviet Union was testing nuclear submarines. And unfortunately for them, it just was not going too well. Now, the first submarine really didn't do too good at all. I mean, it was kind of a test. It's not that much of a surprise. But what was kind of stupid of them to do is they loaded on 80 passengers onto that thing. Yeah, so that didn't go too well because the submarine exploded due to a reaction failure. And all 80 of those passengers died. Not only that, but they left a butt ton of like freaking radioactive waste all into the water. And that radioactive waste also spread over to the native island right near it, and there were a bunch of people affected by that as well. It was just horrendous in general. Then they did decide to try again. This one did a little bit better. It didn't explode, there was no reaction failure or anything like that, but there absolutely was still waste being poured into the into the ocean, you know. But the difference this time is I don't think it spread so far as to other native islands surrounding it. This one was more contained, but it did affect the wildlife in some seriously bad ways. In fact, I think this is what led up to, well, we'll get into that. They did try one more time. This third attempt was very successful in every way, shape, and form. Everything they needed was done properly, and it was ready and good to go. But then all of a sudden, their comms just disappeared. All communication was cut, and the submarine was never seen again. I think we know where this is going. Something bad happened to that submarine, right? We're gonna find out what happened to it. So this next tape is pretty interesting because it doesn't really have too much content in it, right? All we see is a deep sea camera. I believe a deep sea camera of that third submarine at the bottom of the seafloor, like insinuating that something probably destroyed it and sent it to the bottom of the seafloor like that. The footage you're looking at here is just basically a little bit of wildlife. You can see some radioactive waste, I believe, floating around the area. I mean, it looks like radioactive waste to me. Nothing alarming immediately, right? But what you will notice at the very end is there's a brief moment where you can see this creature. What is that? I don't even want to continue this video. What is that? Now, this next tape outlines the catastrophic events that took place after this new creature had emerged. So apparently, this creature attacked an oil rig, killing almost 90 people. 89 of those people died. They're gone. They're all dead, right? There was one survivor. Her name was Danny Moore. Remember that name. Apparently, she decided to take her own life. We'll move on. Let's talk about this creature for a second, because like, what? So this thing is incredibly powerful. Like, it's capable of bending metal beams and leaving lacerations in metal structures and stuff like that. So even though you see this thing, you're probably not surviving. Like, that thing could swipe you one time and you're getting split in half like some freaking sashimi, like some freaking salami. It's over. So now the country's top priority has shifted to killing this creature to make sure it doesn't take any more lives, obviously. And we get yet another glimpse of the monster itself here, or whatever you're looking at. I don't know what this is. The next tape sheds a bit more light on what we might be up against. It looks like it's some kind of anemone that has been mutated due to the radioactive waste that's been placed inside the water from the second submarine detonation. However, it's developed new traits never before seen in an anemone before. Like, it's grown legs, I believe. It has a freaking mouth. Ew. It also has this really strange ability, this really cool ability to like pilot other fish, you know, and surround its body with it to make it look like those fish are still alive in order to attract bigger fish that would eat those. That's how it gets its food. That's actually really smart. I mean, unfortunately though, this does suggest that this is a pretty intelligent creature and it's learning, because one doesn't just come up with a tactic like that by natural instinct. That's really smart. So the next tape is kind of peculiar. It's a drawing about someone saying they've been looking for their father, and they say the drawing is of the last thing he saw before he was taken, and to contact them if they have any information about it. And in the next tape, I believe we find out what happened to said father. This is the father.
Hell no, man. What the?
This is the father being moved around by the anemone's tendrils to replicate human movements. This is so messed up. I had no idea they were about to go like this morbid. That is so weird, bro. So this next tape's actually a confession by this guy named Henry Moore. Very important character. So Henry states that this guy, James Hughes, is a guy that he murdered, basically.
What do you mean by that?
You see, Hughes here had killed his daughter, and he wasn't just gonna let that slide, so he had to take matters into his own hands, apparently. So he took him out in the middle of the ocean. Then he had some drinks with him, act like everything was cool, and then he laced the drinks and put him to sleep. He then tied a poster around his leg that read Alta Paradisus. He knew that monster was going to show up, and it did, because that monster does not like them. Now, this next tape is called Last Warning. This is wild. It's basically the government telling people not to post any of the findings of the creature anywhere online. They're just trying to cover up this thing's entire existence. 2 people that have uploaded images have been dealt with, and their posts removed from public eye. They're most likely killing people to keep this under wraps. That's what it sounds like to me.
Submersible, the terminal, which will be launched for the first time later this week, supposedly searching for the local legend and king of the sea tarantula.
Now, in the next tape, we find out that they're planning another expedition in order to find and hopefully eliminate the monster they're now calling the sea tarantula.
Crazy name.
And now we get into the really cool part of this. We find out that although being piloted by the Actinaria, some forms of sentience is still present. Some words can even be formed. Here's James attempting to speak. We also find out that the Actinaria has a radius of about 300 meters surrounding itself, and it has a number of host bodies that is piloting around currently. This is so messed up, especially when you realize they're like somewhat alive, I believe. That is so wild. So Henry Moore is apparently acting as the helmsman of the Judah, this freaking submarine they're using to literally try to come kill this creature. This is the same guy that confessed about killing James Hughes as well. That's him. Now you might miss this part here, but you see a message pop up briefly, a quote, and it's by someone named Tracer Hughes. That is the child of James Hughes. The one that drew that picture, that's the same person. And a little interesting detail that you can easily miss if you're not paying attention is if you turn on the subtitles on that episode where you see James first being piloted around by the Actinaria, you can actually see the subtitles say Tracer, the same name. Oh my god, that's such a great detail. Like, they really went in with the details, the subtlety. I love it, dude. Great job. Back to the story though, we're getting ready to attack the Actinaria and put an end to this. The last thing we see is this graphic, and then I'm assuming James saying goodbye to Henry. See, this could have gone either way actually. The Judah could have completely destroyed the Actinaria, James in the process, and that was him finally passing on and saying goodbye to Henry. Or Henry could have been murdered in battle, trying to kill the Actinaria, and he was just saying goodbye to him because he's now dying himself. I don't know, we might never know. I'm pretty sure we're at the end of the series. Now here's an important detail you may have missed, and it's kind of huge. I briefly hinted at it at the beginning, you might not have noticed. So why did Henry despise James so much again? It's because James killed his daughter. Wait a second, hold on, stay with me here. If you go back to the third tape, something seems a little fishy, right? Like, no pun intended.
Man, shut your...
Danny Moore, the only survivor on board when the Actinaria first attacked. Danny Moore, Henry Moore, yeah, that's his daughter. But the log says she committed suicide after the events. Well, that is not what happened, obviously. You saw what happened to those two people that uploaded the images of the Actinaria on the internet. They said they got dealt with. Chances are Danny survived and went to go tell the tale of everything that happened after what she had witnessed. However, their government just could not allow that to slide, so they ordered her assassination. And honestly, I think the person that either did the assassination themselves or ordered the assassination was James. And that would explain why he has such a deep hatred for this man, to where he literally murdered him. I gotta say, man, the implied horror and like subtlety and attention to detail in this makes this such a great analog horror. Like, I gotta give you a round of applause, man. I'm also kind of curious about the fate of the world too, since we don't really get anything after the Judah goes to attack the Actinaria. Is the world doomed forever, or are there gonna be more of the Actinaria spreading across the world? Is that it? Or did the Judah actually finish the job and now everything's gone back to normal? I don't know. But yeah, that was a really cool analog horror. I really enjoyed that, and I hope you guys did too. Now go ahead, if you guys find any more analog horrors like this, you know where to leave them at. In the comments, bro. Put them in the comments. Also, me and Crow have this Discord we'd really like for you guys to join because we're trying to solve a mystery over there. We can use your help. The link for that will be in the description, so you know where to go to get to there. Alright, peace.
We now conclude our scheduled broadcasts for today. Good night.